This is a Lynk Co 08 I tested last year. You can see it as a bigger, faster and smarter version of the Lynk Co 01. And this car could be sold in Europe only God knows when. However, those who prefer a saloon might ask, is there a bigger, faster and smarter version of the Lynk Co 03? You know what? There is. This is the Lynk Co 07, just like a squashed 08. And actually it is. The two both have the CMA Evo platform, the EMP hybrid system, and Meizu Flyme Auto OS. You might think it's only aimed for the Chinese market, but in fact, I think it's also suitable for Europe. And I even think that after Volvo stopped producing ICE cars, you can see it as the brand new S60. And here's why. I'm Harris, you're watching my EV. To be honest, I was quite disappointed when I saw it in real life, because I was fooled by the fan renders before the official release. To me, the wheel is not big enough, the front is not low enough, and the body is not slick enough. In a nutshell, it just seems off. But after coming to my senses, I understand that all these compromises were there for higher engineering feasibility. You see, the CMA Evo platform can support a wheelbase up to 2,800mm, but the 07 has a wheelbase of 2,843mm, basically pushing the platform beyond its limit. The result is a 4.8-meter long body, which is already quite good for a mid-sized saloon, but just not enough for this kind of design. For a good headroom, the 07 did not went for a curved fastback design. Instead, it got a slope after the C-pillar, ruining the proportion but protecting the back row space. And the Zeekr 007 happens to have the same shape. Lastly, it's not an all-electric car. They still have to put an engine and a transmission somewhere, so of course, it just can't rearrange the layout at will. Although it's not as pretty as it should be, I have to tell you guys that there is an all-electric big saloon in the making, and from the renders, it could be very gorgeous. There's not a huge difference between the interiors of the 07 and 08, besides the screen being able to turn left and right. The instrument display and center screen are still big, the massive HUD can still play movies, and physical buttons are still nowhere to be found. Additionally, the 07's overall design even seems much simpler. There's less metallic decoration, the air vents and panels blend together better, and the door buttons are placed in more convenient but less obvious spot. These changes are not that bad, but I'm not a fan of the window buttons being just like the ones in the Zeekr X. What's wrong with the traditional switches? Just so you know, this complaint is from someone who owns an ET5 and still hasn't quite gotten used to these designs after more than a year. Lynk Co can't make spacious cars. That's been our impression of the brand, even for the 09, which is based on Volvo XC90. But it seems the 07 is changing that perception. From what my colleague experienced, both the rear seats and the boot are quite spacious. Forget the Volvo X60, it can even compete with the Volkswagen Passat, and the seats might even be more comfortable. But I should mention, my colleague is only 5'6", so it might seem bigger with him in it. There's no test drive this time, so let's just look at the numbers. It has the same plug-in powertrain as the 08, a 1.5-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, a 3-speed DHT, and a P1 plus P3 architecture, putting out 381 horsepower and 650 Nm of torque in total. The only difference lies in the battery. The one in the 07 is 19 kWh instead of 21 in the 08. And we reckon that there will not be a four-wheel drive version of the 07, so it's unlikely that we will get the 400 kWh battery the top trim 08 has. Although the specs aren't that terrific, I suspect that the 07, especially with its dynamics, could be very suitable for European market. First, the plug-in powertrain. Instead of the popular direct drive system or extended range architecture, the 07 has a 3-speed dedicated hybrid transmission. Actually, when the motors and batteries are powerful enough, such a complex system seems quite unnecessary. But when you're driving at high speed, you will notice its great acceleration capability, which could be useful on motorway, even autobahn. Second, the chassis tuning. Comfort is what most Chinese mainstream saloons are aiming for, because for Chinese car makers, a soft tuning is the safest choice. But Lynk Co's tuning is always considered the best in its price range. With help from Volvo and years of experience on racetracks, Lynk Co has a deep understanding of balancing, handling, and comfort. On the intelligence, the 07 and 08 are pretty much the same, and I'm kinda tired saying that today. The biggest highlight for the 07's infotainment is that it can connect with Meizu phones, turning the phone into a car key, a remote controller, and an extra screen inside the car. Plus, the Polestar 4, which was on sale in Europe and Australia, has the same operating system. And this is the exact phone Meizu made for Lynk Co. You can see the logo here. But can you guys buy this in your country? On the driver assistance, it does not have a LiDAR and has the same amount and placement of cameras and radar as the 08, so we can only expect it to have highway NOA in the future via OTA. Considering that Geely has assigned most of the ADAS team to work on Zeekr's NZP, we don't know when this system will be in Lynk Co. I've always been a bit puzzled regarding Lynk Co's plan. In China, it has launched 8 models, 9 if we count the 04. But in Europe, after all these years, the 01 is the only one on the shelf. Besides that, it's the 03 TCR race car produced by Saab Racing in Sweden. To make matters worse, the EU has been tightening its grip on EV imports, making it even harder for the 07 and 08 to get into the European market, because they all have a big battery. However, all is not lost, because there's a lot of information online indicating that there will be an estate version of the 07, and the same goes for the Zeekr 007. Considering that consumers in China aren't really into estates, this might suggest that the company still has the European market in mind.